Are you a fan of movies that have humongous soundtracks? I mean, the big bass, the explosions, the booms, the really dynamic audio, but at the same time, you really don't want to go through the hassle of setting up a home theater with all the amps and processors and all of the things? Well, today I'm going to tell you about a product that might be perfect for you. It's the Nakamichi Dragon soundbar. Yes, it's a soundbar, but it features two 12-inch subwoofers. That's right, it brings the bass. So if this sounds like it might be a fit for you, so you can have that home theater experience with an easy setup, stick around because I'm going to tell you all about it.
Before we get started, if you're into tech, hi-fi, or movies, be sure to push the subscribe button for new weekly videos.
Not a lot of products change the game, but this Nakamichi soundbar, yes, it's a soundbar. The Dragon, I think, does change the game. So this is their flagship. It's an 11.4.6. That means it has up to 4 wireless subwoofers, 12-inch subs that are pretty amazing. And we'll talk about those later. And all 6 Atmos channels. So this thing brings all of the power of a home theater and merges it in with the convenience and ease of setup of a soundbar. Now, does it work? Is it something that will bring you value, particularly at a price point of $5,000 for the version that includes 2 subwoofers? Well, we're going to find out in this video if it does achieve that goal. And I think to kick off, we'll take a look at the actual main soundbar unit itself and talk about what's inside of the box. We're going to get into this main unit now and show you what we got going on. So this is about 58 inches wide, and this is slightly wider than a 65-inch television. So I do not recommend this with anything smaller than a 65-inch TV. It'll be right at home with a 65, 75, 85. When you get up to 98-inch, this might be a little small, but I think for the vast majority of people, this is going to be just fine at those sizes that I talked about. Now, from a speaker complement, the big take-home items are that this features 3 AMTs, and I believe they're 1.5-inch AMTs that you can see here, the center left and right. But beyond that, there's a pile of speakers in this thing. So you've got 2 up firing, you've got a speaker here on the side, another speaker here, speakers here and here. So there are speakers in the left compartment, speakers in the right compartment, and then you have the 3 speakers here in the center. Now, in this unit, this gives you the front and center Atmos speakers. The rears will come out of the surround speakers that I'll tell you about, and then all of the side surround, and then your front sound stage as well. Pretty crazy. On top, you've got a nice display. You also have a display here on the side that lights up when you have this thing turned on. And then also, we're going to flip this, take a look at the back, and you can see the connectivity. On the rear of the unit, there are actually no ports. All the action happens here on the bottom. Now, the first thing I want to comment on are the 4 feet on this soundbar. These are chunky feet, and they do a really great job of keeping this unit separated from whatever you have it sitting on. Now, from there, though, we get into connectivity, and it's pretty straightforward. There are 4 HDMI ports. Your eARC is port 1, then you have HDMI N2, 3, and 4. And there's a nice little plasticky band here that helps with wire management. Then on this side, you've got everything else. Now, one thing I'll note is that for the power in, there's actually a brick for this unit that'll have to sit down behind wherever this lives. So if you're doing a wall mount, it can be interesting as that it's just not a power cable that goes in. It's actually the little round barrel connector that then runs to a brick that plugs into the wall. You've also got USB, you've got optical in, your aux in, which is a 3.5 millimeter. You've got optical out, and this is SPDIF, and then you've got auxiliary out, which I guess is another 3.5 if you want to output audio somehow. But very easy to get to everything, and all the cables are hidden from the front view when you plug everything together.
Let's take a moment and talk about features and cost here, right? So we're on the Nakamichi page, and you can see that we've got the dual 12-inch system, which is what we are looking at now for $5,000. If you do the quad 12s, that's looking at $7,200. And if you do the 2 8-inch drivers, it's only $4,000, but I don't recommend that. I really recommend strongly the dual 12 system as the entry kind of level for this system. It's pretty outstanding. There's a long list of features here, 11.4.6 on the channels of processing. And Remember, this is about the same as a entry-level Trinov or Storm processor. That is a lot of channels of processing. You've got the adaptive height, so it helps you set the dispersion on the height channels. You can do up to 4 subs, 31 total speaker drivers. The surrounds, which have a ton of drivers in them, up to 5,000 total watts, and 370 pounds of power. So, it is pretty heavy. You can come to this website and scroll through and look and see all of these features for yourself. But, this thing is just pretty outstanding with the technology that they have baked into the unit. It's outstanding what they were able to fit inside of this little tiny box.
A lot of times when you look at subwoofers that come with soundbar systems, they're basically toys, right? Well, the 12-inch sub with the Nakamichi Dragon is anything but a toy. This thing is humongous. This is exactly the same kind of package that you would find with a 12-inch sub that you would buy standalone. And, as a matter of fact, I believe this is actually OEM'd from a really huge subwoofer manufacturer that makes high-end subs by Nakamichi. Don't quote me on that one, but this is a extremely high quality product that I would be able to run and happy to run outside of this soundbar system. This thing is cool. Obviously, it's been repurposed, redesigned specifically for the Dragon, but this brings in kind of top tier subwoofer quality. You got a 12-inch driver, 750 watt amp, and on the bottom you've got a 12-inch passive radiator. So this is a bass reflex design, and the extension on this goes down to about 19 hertz. On the front, you've got a very well designed magnetic attach grill, and this guy will just snap right on. It's a interesting octagonal shape, so it's a little bit different than the round ones that you normally see, but pretty cool. It brings a lot of character to the front of the box. On the rear of the box, you'll notice that there is a very large amp plate. This is big, and it takes up the vast majority of the rear of the enclosure. You'll also notice that it's very simple. There are none of the normal dials and switches that you typically see, so there's no way to adjust phase or any of the other items on this unit. You have to do that all back using the remote control and the main unit itself on the soundbar. What you do see is a voltage selector, power switch, power in, and then the pair button. And you'll notice that you've got 4 different pair selections here, sub 1 through 4. So that reinforces the idea that this system supports up to 4 subwoofers, of which they can all be this 12. And let me tell you what, a dual 12 system is thunderous. A 4 sub system with these 12s would be crazy bananas. I want to talk a little bit about who the consumer is for this product, right? Because at $5,000, it's not exactly inexpensive. And, the first thing people mention to me when we talk about this soundbar is, well, for that $5,000, I can go out and buy an AVR and speakers and subs and do all the things, right? So I think it's really important to understand that the person who's going to want the Dragon is someone who doesn't want to do that, right? They don't want to go through the whole process of picking out parts and assembling a system together. They want something that's going to bring similar performance, similar features to their environment without having to go through all of that effort. They don't want the complexity. They want the wireless setup. Maybe their room doesn't have cabling for surrounds and subwoofers, all these other things, and they don't want to have to deal with that. They just want to plug and play and go. And I think that's the goal that Nakamichi has really fulfilled. They've achieved that goal with this device because this brings that level of home theater experience without all of the hassle installation, right? So you get all of the features and all of the convenience of a soundbar. So features of the processor, the home theater, and then the convenience of the soundbar all matched here together. So I think it's a really good product for those people that are looking for that kind of quality, performance, and ease of installation. Continuing along the theme of size matters, we've got the biggest surrounds that I've ever seen with any soundbar system. These things are huge. We've got the actual surround speaker, the custom speaker stand that you can buy separately if you'd like, and I suggest that you do because they're really nice. But The speaker's got a lot of technology built in, right? So it's wireless, of course. The only connection is the power cord. The power cord comes out of the back and runs through the base here. Inside of the speaker, while this might look like a bipolar speaker, these are actually all discrete channels. So this isn't a bipolar or dipole. You've got your two AMTs, your mid bass drivers, and then on top, you've got a special Atmos speaker. Here on top, you've got your Atmos, and so this is for the rear set of channels, but this is actually directional. So you can actually spin this around to different settings and point this speaker however you want it to align, right? So it can be like this, like this, like this, and it just turns around. It's really, really cool. And these are called positions 1, 2, and 3, and it can go either left or right. To cable this up, there are really only two cables that you need to worry about. You've got your HDMI, and this is going to be on your eARC port from both the television and the soundbar. And then this is connected to the power brick that I told you about. It's the barrel connector. One thing you'll notice is that I don't have an Ethernet cable. Now, this unit has no connectivity for Wi-Fi whatsoever. It is not online at all. So it can't do online firmware updates or any of those kinds of things. They say it's a design feature because of the chipset that they want to use for all of the AVR processing doesn't support that. It is a feature that I'd like to see them add in the future because I really would love to be able to do firmware updates over the air as opposed to using USB. But let's go ahead and plug these in. Now let's take a look at the remote control. It's not super heavy, plastic back, but a nice aluminum plate front. It has copious amounts of buttons. It's got all of your HDMI and TV selects here, power mute. You can go through all of the DSP as well as defeat the DSP on the front, surround stereo. You've got your D controller that lets you fast forward, rewind, and also up and down. You've got rockers for bass control. So they think that's very important, and I agree it really is. You've got your volume, and then you can also independently control the volume of different surround channels here directly on the remote. You've got a couple of presets. You can change the setting for the height dispersion right here. And then again, more up and down volume controls for your front heights and rear heights. Pretty cool. Lots of action here on the remote so that you don't always have to go into the settings.
Now let's talk a little bit about the setup of the soundbar. Since there is no automated room correction inside of the unit, which is something that I would like to see them add in the future, I think that would be kind of like one of the final feathers to put into the cap of this device. Since it doesn't exist, though, you're pulling out tape measures and measuring distances from your seating area to all of your different speakers. I'm sure that for all of we old timers, or not even such old timers, people have done this in the past with AVRs. However, the standard nowadays really is a tool to do it automatically, and I think that will be the next evolution, next step for this unit. I will say that even though the unit doesn't have this functionality, the manual settings really delivered a really good sound from the unit. It does take a few minutes to step through all of the different measurements and get it all set, though.
Now let's talk about the sound of the system, and I'm going to break this up into a discussion of the bass and of the mids and highs. From a bass perspective, this system delivers unlike any other soundbar system that I've ever come across. The bass is deep, it's impactful, it's punchy, it can give you that low rumble. It sounds like what you would expect out of a very high dollar, purpose-built, component-chosen home theater system. It's outstanding. And this is just with 212s. Remember, you can go to 4 and that'll raise the total output by another 3 decibels, which is ridiculous. With 2, you're going to get great bass performance across your seating area. 4 subs will make that even better. With the mids and highs, the AMTs really come across. They're very bright. They bring a lot of dynamics to the environment. But one thing that I would caution is that I don't like all of the different DSP modes. Some of the DSP modes can make the sound be a little bit hollow. Now, I think some of that is purposefully done, but I don't think a lot of people are going to appreciate that in their environment. I preferred the system either with the DSP completely defeated and turned off, or movie settings 1 and 2. Those were the best for me for a pleasing sound out of the system. The system can get a little mid-forward and kind of give you that boxy sound. So make sure that you play with the DSP settings and find the one that works best for you. And I think for me overall, just Defeated gives the most natural sound. I did go ahead and boost up the subs just a little bit to give that low end kind of bump without any DSP working on the low end. And for me, that gave a very nice natural sound that was absolutely right at home, providing that kind of multi-channel experience, and also quite good with upmixed stereo music. Now let's get into my final thoughts about the system. And ultimately, this is going to come down to a cost versus performance versus ease discussion, right? So at $5 grand, it's a lot of money. It's not an inexpensive system. And you can take that money and buy a set of components that can give you equal performance. I mean, in all honesty, you can do that. But what you can't buy for that $5,000 is the ease of setup that you get with the Nakamichi Dragon. The soundbar can be mounted on top of a piece of furniture. It can be mounted onto the wall with a separate installation wall kit. So it's very flexible. And then without having to run any cables for your surrounds, for Atmos, or for the subwoofers, the actual implementation of the system is something that anyone can absolutely do. It's very easy to set up. So I would say that if you find yourself in a situation where you need a system that gives you home theater quality, but you need it to be easily implemented, installed, set up, and maintained, then that $5,000 is going to be money well spent to put this in your environment. I really enjoyed listening to music and watching movies on this. Here in my living room, it gave me a very similar feeling to the theater in the basement, which costs about $200,000 as opposed to just $5 grand for this system. So you do get a huge amount of bang for your buck. So for me, I do give this 2 thumbs up if you're looking for a home theater experience with the ease of a soundbar setup. All right, thank you so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things. Also, there's going to be another video down in the corner. Click on that one, give it a shot. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.